Whoa, I was not ready for that woman to say this meeting is being recorded. We haven't done a Zoom in like forever. But
Yeah,
did you hear that, or is that just me?
it's some new legal thing that.
Yeah, that was everybody.
Okay, good. I'm glad we all heard it. Well, welcome everyone to another episode. Obviously, it's been a little while because we don't even know all the updates on Zoom. But we are
All
back.
three of us are living in different places too.
We are living. Well, we always.
Yeah, it's been a little while where no one's living in the same place.
Oh, that's true. I was gonna say we've all moved. We've really come up in the world. I like that. Well, everyone, welcome. This is Under the Sun Sports. We are back with some new content. We are getting ready for the football season. Super excited for that. I should probably introduce us as well. I'm your host today. My name is Mike. Along with me is Pat and Chris as well. We are the typical Under the Sun crew. And as I said before, we are excited because we are getting ready for football season. A couple of preseason games are kind of already underway. They're already done. We've kind of got to look at our Eagles and kind of what they've done. And from there, we are going to go with some over-unders for today's show for the Eagles for the upcoming season. We have a lot of expectations for this season. We're not quite exactly sure what we're going to get, but we're going to go over everything that we think might kind of happen this season and what we kind of expect to see with the Eagles coming up after seeing 2 preseason games and kind of just what our expectations are in general. How are you guys doing though?
Good. Better than Chris, that's for sure.
I know, Chris, you look so sad, like more than normal.
I'm not sad. Just this is what you look like after you go to a Weezer, Fall Out Boy, Green Day concert Friday.
How was that? How was that?
It was awesome.
Was it?
It was awesome.
It looked pretty good. All right. Let's kick it off. What's that?
I have a bunch of videos.
Oh yeah, we saw them.
I only put a couple up. Don't you worry.
All right. Let's kick it off here with our Eagles predictions. Like we said, we are going to be going over under. We have set the bar at certain levels for each thing. We have some player props. We have some team totals, all sorts of things like that. We're going to kind of run down our list straight through. I have wins here first. I'm going to save the wins for last. I think I want to do the other stuff first, and then we'll kind of hit the wins in the end, kind of give us a bit of more of an idea after we kind of see the players and how we're going to kind of stack that up. So let's start with some player ones here. I'm going to kind of run down first. And
don't mean to cut you off. We always say put it on the board in this show.
Yeah.
I'm also creating a board right now.
Is it beautiful?
It's just a note.
All right, good.
At least now we have somewhere to fucking write everything.
My goodness.
Can we still curse?
I guess we can, but you're on fire today. All right, let's start it off with some player props real quick. I'm going to give this first one to Pat, and then we'll kind of go around a little bit. And we've had a bit of a discussion about this before in our group chat as well. But this one's going to be a receiver, Jalen Reagor. A bit of a down rookie year. There are a lot of expectations, with the first round tag on him. And what we have him at right now is 850 total yards. I believe we said that was going to be receiving yards, though, correct? So 850 receiving yards for Jalen Reagor this year. Pat, do you have that over or under?
I'm going under there. I know you guys got more skin in the game here. I really hope it's over. But I don't know how many air yards this offense is going to have, and I think he may end up as even the third highest receiver on the team. So I'm going under, as much as it pains me.
Chris, how about you?
Over. $20 bet. Put it on the board.
It is for the background there, Chris and I do have a bet. I'm obviously on the underside to give my stance away. I kind of agree with a lot of things that Pat said. I think, there's a lot I still want to see with Jalen Hurts, and I especially don't think that passing, especially, he's only played 4 games so far. I don't know that he's as polished yet of a passer as we're going to see. So I don't know that that's going to lead to a lot of yards for all the receivers. I don't know how much there's going to be go around. I'm not going to say that he's not going to improve as a passer as the year goes on, but if it's 850, as we were saying, that kind of puts you in that wide receiver 2 type of territory for a fantasy. I just don't think Jalen Reagor is going to hit that. Chris, how about real quick? Give us a reason why you think he is.
This is basically tied to Jalen Hurts. I just think he's going to have a huge year. Also, Reagor, a lot of people just don't like him because he's not Justin Jefferson. Last year was kind of a weird season all around with the 2 different quarterbacks. Reagor was hurt for a little bit. Deshaun Jackson was hurt for the majority of the year, so there wasn't really anyone to kind of take the spotlight off Reagor. So I think he's going to come in under the radar this year, and he's looked pretty good in camp so far. So That's basically it.
Yeah, and I mean he certainly could. I think it's just it's going to be a bit of a wait and see with this offense. I think we're going to have to kind of temper expectations for now. At least I am. So I'm good. As we have so far, Pat and I are under on that one, and Chris is over. Let's switch it over to the defensive side of the ball real quick.
One
Fletcher,
thing I was going to say.
go ahead.
There was also another quarterback 2 years ago who they said wasn't a great passer, and in his second year he won the MVP. Just throwing it out there.
Who is that, Chris?
Lamar Jackson.
It is true. It is true.
I think we would all be very happy if Hertz rose to that level and proved us all wrong.
And that's kind of we were speaking to as well. Like I'm not rooting against them in any way. I just think that what I've seen so far, nothing has led me to believe that he's going to put those kind of numbers up. All right, let's switch to the defensive side of the ball real quick. A fan favorite, Fletcher Cox. Kind of struggled a little bit last year. There were some injuries along that defensive line, but we have him set right now at 5.5 sacks. Chris, where do you see Fletcher Cox getting this year?
I was actually about to look up how many he had last year because I actually don't know. So, yeah, of
Your
course.
homework, Chris.
He had 6.5 sacks last year.
Just looked it up. I'm going to go over.
That.
I was thinking of going under just because.
Yeah, those are the two options.
I mean, he's still fairly young. They tend to slow down. He's another season more wear and tear. But I don't see anyone really that came in that's going to take sacks away from him. If anything, the D-line's kind of weaker than it was last year, so he's probably going to be out there even more. So definitely over.
How about you, Pat?
Yeah, I'm definitely going over on this one. This was one of the easier ones for me, at least, to guess. I did look it up, and it was just 2019 he had that bad year with 3.5 sacks. But the last 5 of the 6 last years, other than that, he's had at least 5.5 or upwards. So I'm going over. I think the Brandon Graham's back, and we got Kerrigan in, so they put a little pressure on the edges, and sometimes you get those pockets collapsing, and if he can luck his way into a couple sacks, I think he's going to be well over because he's still one of the best defensive tackles in the game, and he's going to make his own sacks, at least 5 or 6 of them himself, and I think he might even get 7 or 8.
Yeah, I'm leaning the over as well. I think you'll have more healthy Hargrave this year. They did some help in the draft as well. Adding Kerrigan's going to help. I think the defensive line actually is going to be improved, despite kind of a little bit contrarian to what Chris is saying. I think they're actually going to be a little bit better this year, but I think that helps him overall.
I'll be honest, I completely forgot they got Kerrigan.
Yeah, if the unit's stronger, I think he's going to perform much better. So I'm going to go over 5.5 on that one. All right, we'll switch back to the offensive side of the ball. This is going to be a whole team stat, 22 points per game. Pat, where do you see this Eagles offense in terms of points per game?
I'm going to go under. I think that number is going to be pretty close to where they finish. I think that's a pretty fair over-under line since I made it. So it's usually how it goes. But yeah, I just think there's going to be some good moments with this skill group of players we have, and I think there's going to be some struggling moments as well. I haven't obviously been watching any of training camps, but the reports are they're having trouble getting the ball in the end zone. The offense isn't necessarily looking bad. They're just struggling to put points on the board in their practices. Hopefully that just means our defense is really good, but I think they're going to come under the 22.
Chris, how about you?
I think they're going to I'm going to go with over for 2 reasons. The one is the belief I have in Hertz, and then also the other reason is just while the D-line is still strong, there's still glaring holes in the secondary and linebackers. So I really think they're going to struggle to keep other teams out of the end zone this year. So I think a lot of their games are going to be high scoring, extra possessions. So that's why I'm going to go with over.
Yeah, I'm actually on the over team as well. They were at 21 points a game last year, and they were a complete mess, like with that offensive line and everything that's going to happen. And there was no weapons, anything like that. You're telling me all they got to do is just be 1 point a game better. I think they've made, the lines healthier. I do expect Hurts to be better, than Wentz was last year. I'll say that. So yeah, I'm going to take the over for the 22 points. Let's switch it now to defense. Chris, we have the defense at averaging 21.5 points against per game. Do you over or under with that?
I kind of gave my answer away
Yeah.
last. I'm over. Again, I think they're gonna surprise people this year. We'll get to that later with our over under, but I think they're gonna be high scoring games as I mentioned. So I'm going over.
How about you, Pat?
I'm going over as well. I don't think it's going to be too far over. I don't think there's going to be that many high scoring games, but we do play a couple of the most potent offenses in the league this year with the Chiefs and the Bucks, and there's definitely going to be some 40-point weeks that throw that average off. I think where our defense is just going to collapse. I actually think our defense is going to be pretty good this year. I think they're going to be better than people are giving them credit for, but there's some new faces and there's some aging faces, so I do think they're going to have a few hiccups in the road that throw that average up there.
Yeah, I completely agree. They were at 26 points a game last year, average. And I just think that even though they have gotten better, I definitely agree with both you guys saying that. I just think that 21's pretty tough. That puts you like you even kind of above some of the middle of the tier teams. Then I just don't think they're quite there yet. So I'm going to go with the above there as well. All right, let's get into another player. This one is Jalen Hurts. Total touchdowns set at 30. I believe we're going back to Pat. Are you over or under here for Jalen Hurts?
I am under, which pains me because I'm riding with Hurts. You guys know that. I'm excited to see what he can do this year. I think that number's pretty high though. I could see him throwing for 20 and rushing for another 7 or 8, but getting to that 30 number is going to be tough. I think they're also going to run the ball more this year than they have in the past. I think under Sirianni. I think they got a healthy line back. Hopefully they stay healthy, and we'll get to the Miles Sanders stuff later. But I expect that they run the ball a lot and they run off some clock with that, which just takes down the touchdown opportunities.
Chris, how about you?
I'm going to go with over. Again, I'm not predicting him to be the MVP this year, but just looking at Lamar Jackson's that season, it was 36 passing, 7 rushing. I think he can easily do 25 passing, 5 rushing, kind of in his sleep over a 16-game season. So I would expect him to be over that.
Plus, you add that extra game and see that, and it's funny. Like with that extra game, it's kind of funny because like you look at last year's stats and you kind of got to make sure that you sort of adjust for that extra game. And sometimes I actually forget that there's even a 17th game. So I'm like, oh wait, this could actually probably happen.
Do we know what he did in the what his totals were? Do you guys remember off the top of your head what his 4-game totals were from last season? The 4 starts he had at the end, and like what that would average out to?
I want to.
We can pull it up real quick.
I want to say it was like. I want to say he almost had 10.
I thought he had around 7, something like that.
I'll look it up while Mike, you give your answer and we'll circle back to it.
Yeah, and again, mine's not too complex here. I didn't put too much thought into it. It was kind of more just like a gut feeling thing. I am going under the 30 again. I'm not rooting against him anyway. I obviously want him to succeed. I just think that, at the end of the day, 30, you're right, Chris. I mean, you look at Lamar Jackson's season, obviously as an MVP type season. And like theoretically, like, could I see him, rushing for 6 and passing for 24? Absolutely. But I think in the end, I'm going to go with the under here. It's more of almost like a gut kind of feeling.
So he threw for 6. So you got 1.25 a game times 17. You would have been averaging 21, just over 21 touchdowns in the season. And he ran for 3. So obviously that's on pace for well over 10. But I think that would be the tougher pace to keep up the rushing efficiency. So it'll be close.
Right. It'll be close. Definitely a good one to see. All right. I like this one here. This is the divisional finish. And when this isn't kind of getting into playoffs, obviously you never really know what's going to happen, but over under the 1.5 spot. So essentially, do you see the Eagles winning this division this year? That's kind of what we're asking. Chris, where are you with this one? Over under on that 1.5 spot?
Over. Just to clarify, yeah.
Over, I mean like they win the division.
Yeah, because it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
It's a weird way to phrase it, but still, yeah.
I'm just gonna change it in our board to win division and not.
Yeah.
So, look at this.
We'll go yes, no on this one.
We get caught up with numbers.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with yes. Things I mentioned already, high on Hurts this year, but also just that schedule just is so easy. I really think they're going to win more games than people think. Don't know what Dak's going to look like coming off an injury. The football teams were great last year, but I mean, they were kind of like an out of nowhere kind of fluky team, and you see that every year where those teams kind of just fall off. And the Giants definitely added some talent, but they're kind of still a train wreck. So I think we're going to win the division this year,
Pat, how are you?
just because of the strength of schedule.
Yeah, I do not think we're going to win the division. Unfortunately, I do think they're going to be better than some people are giving them credit for. I think they hover around an average NFL team. Much improved from last year. But the Cowboys are definitely way better on paper. We know that doesn't always translate into divisional titles for them. But that they're just, to me, they're such a more talented roster than ours. So they definitely have a decent chance of winning, and the football team also does. When I think about Dallas's drafts that they've had recently, it's like a lot of the players that we were hoping the Eagles would take, Lamb and Parsons, and they got a lot of those good players. So we'll see if their defense can hold up, because their offense is definitely going to put up points. And then the football team, now that they actually have a quarterback who can air the ball out a little bit, I think their skill position players and McLaurin and Logan Thomas and Gibson, they're all in entering their peak. They should all be a year better, not a year worse, like some of our guys in some cases. So I think we finished second. One of those two teams edges us out, but I don't think we win it.
Yeah, I'm with Pat on this one as well. I think a lot of the points you made were great. I think if Dallas can stay healthy this whole year, if they had Dak all last year, it wouldn't have even been a discussion. Washington's defense is incredible, and like we said, Pat, you touched on some of their weapons are also on offense. I think I could easily see us finishing third. I wouldn't be shocked if we won the division, but I could easily. I think the one thing we can all agree on is that I just don't think the Giants are going to be very good this year. I think I have them at fourth. I can see the Eagles finishing anywhere from 1 to 3, but if you had to ask me, I would say that no, they do not win. I think if Dallas stays healthy, this is their division.
Yeah, with one other thing I'd like to throw in there too that I forgot to mention with regard to the football teams. Another not key thing, but another thing I think that'll be interesting to see, which is the reason they could have it down here, is just all the crap going on with the team and Ron Rivera right now over all the vaccine stuff. So you never know. They could give up on him.
True. All right. Let's go to another player bet. And this one's interesting.
You can kick it off if you want for one of these so we don't steal your thunder each time.
No, I will. I'll do a couple of those. I'll kick this one off. Why not? So we have Zach Ertz at 48 catches over under. Now, this one's super interesting to me because I think a lot of it just depends on whether he's still on the team or not. If he gets traded, obviously he's not catching balls. So quick question. Are we counting this if he gets traded?
I'm saying yes.
Okay, so if he does get traded, we're still going to add up his totals. That's important to clarify. I kind of thought it was just for the Eagles, because if it's just for the Eagles, I can see them. I don't know. I can see there being a path where he gets traded, but I'm going to take the over, especially if he gets traded. I think if he gets traded, it's going to be to a team like Buffalo or something like that who could use him. And if he goes to Buffalo, he's going to shatter that. And again, that's all hypothetical, but I think Jalen, he's progressing obviously as a passer, as we've talked, but he's going to look for those tight ends, kind of those underneath routes. I think they're going to be a safety security blanket for him. Fantasy wise, I don't know if there's enough to go around, but I think that in real life, I think there's going to be a lot of catches. 48 catches is incredibly doable, I think, for Zach Ertz, even with splitting time. I think there's going to be some of those underneath passes to go around. So I'm going to take the over for 48 catches for Ertz.
Yeah, I'll also go the over there. Echo a lot of those same points. I mean, it's only with a 17-game season, under 3 catches a game, right? So I still think he's talented, as well as much as he's not meshing with the younger group. And, he was Carson Wentz's boy, and he seems to be upset and disgruntled with the changing of his color of his hair and turning his pants inside out and all that stuff. But he's still talented, and he's still going to be on the field a ton. It's not like we have a bunch of amazing pass catchers. We got young guys and not a whole lot of proven pass catchers. So he's going to be out on the field, and I could easily see him getting, 3.5, 4 catches a game.
Like with basically every other one, I'm going to disagree and go under. Multiple reasons. One is it's hard because we've only had one preseason game with Hurts playing, But based off game one, it seems like they really want to push the ball downfield. So I think they're going to try to be aggressive, which is going to take away some of those underneath safety blanket routes to him. Also with the safety blanket, I think a lot of those are going to end with Hurts running the ball instead of trying to force it over the middle, which takes away. And also, we haven't really seen it, but again, just one preseason game, it's impossible to tell. They did say they wanted to have Goddard way more involved this year, so I think that's going to cut into it also, as well as tied into what Pat said. He just doesn't look like he gives a shit. And I get when the actual games happen, he's going to want to look good out there, but it's still hard to.
Yeah, I think a lot of this question comes down to whether he's traded or not.
And isn't this crazy though? He's a guy who had 116 catches just
right.
2 years ago, 3 years ago in 2018, I think it was.
Now you're asking for less than half of that.
Yeah, and he's 30 years old. We're not talking about a guy who's 34 years old and doesn't really like his game is not really built on speed. It's not like a guy who loses a step. I mean, he does need to be fast, but he's a big body guy. He can catch in traffic. Like, he could be able to play a few more years at a decent level.
Should be. So we'll see. All right, we will move on. We have new first-round rookie wideout Devonta Smith. We have him with over under 7.5 total touchdowns. Chris, why don't you give us your take here first?
I mean, it ties a lot of these as we're getting further in kind of trickle back to past arguments that are kind of related. So I'm going to go with over just because if I have Hurts going over 30 total TDs, you think he needs to throw at least 20 something passing touchdowns. And that's probably going to be evenly split or at least close between Smith and Rager. So you have to think he gets over 7.5 for me to get that other one. So I'm going to go with over.
All right. How about you, Pat?
I'm over as well. I'm all in on Devonta Smith's talent. I definitely think he finishes with more touchdowns than Rager. I'd be pleasantly surprised if I was wrong because I think that would mean that we had a successful season and Hurts and Rager and Smith all do well. Barring injury, I think Devonta Smith's obviously the most talented player on our offense. So over. Emphatically.
I'm go ahead.
If you don't mind, because I just wanted to say, I just want to clarify. I think Smith is going to have a better season than Rager. I do think he's better. I'm just saying if Hurts gets to that, Rager probably needs to have at least 8 touchdowns, and so I think Smith probably needs to have 9 or 10.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go over here as well. I can see I can just see there being a game where he has like 3, and then like right off the bat, you're like almost halfway there, like so. And I don't know when that's gonna happen. I don't know. I'm just predicting something, but I can totally see him just dominating a game, and then from there, it's just gonna probably just happen over the course of 17 games. So I'm gonna go over 7.5 as well. I hope to see it. I'm very excited to see him on the field. It was nice kind of seeing him in that preseason game. Albeit not too much work, but a couple nice catches. All right, a kicker one. Why not? Let's do it. I like this. Jake Elliott, over under 5.5 missed field goals. He's had some struggles with extra points, field goals as well. I believe he missed 5 exactly last year. So we're kind of right around that mark. Pat, where are you with Jake Elliott missing over and under 5.5 field goals?
I'm over, unfortunately. We have an extra game this year. I think the Eagles end up going for a lot more field goals than previous years. We've seen Elliott struggle and kind of getting some cold streaks. I think it's strange that he's missed almost as many extra points as field goals. And I know obviously they moved it back recently, but it's definitely concerning. There was a time last year where they weren't even going for field goals if they were over 48 yards, and that was disappointing to see. But I think he's going to have more attempts this year and probably miss maybe 6 or 7 of them.
And that's funny too, because he's got a big leg. It's just you could just tell that confidence was kind of shattered a little bit, maybe.
A mental thing, and it's hard when the kickers, they get the yips like that. I don't know that he had the full blown yips, but there was definitely some mental things going on,
sure.
And it's hard to recover from that.
Chris, where are you with this one?
I'm going over as well. It just seems to be the way he's trending. He's seemingly got worse and worse each year. So that's really all of my argument.
Yeah, I'm with both you guys there as well. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to go over with the 5.5 misses for Jake Elliott. I'll kick this one off. We have another player one. We're going back to Jalen Hurts, 3,500 yards passing. So it's an interesting one to think about. A lot of it's going to be his progression kind of coming up with this year. kind of a little bit of math. That's about like 205 passing a game. Mixed with his rushing ability, I don't know that he's going to quite get there. I'm going to say it's going to be under 3,500 yards. I think, Chris, as you said before, he's going to kind of look to run as well. There's going to be those intermediate routes, but then he's also going to have some bombs, hopefully to Smith and Watkins, and he's going to work that in. But I just don't know that over the course of the season he's going to average, a little over 200 a game. I hope that I'm wrong, but I'm going to take the under here. Pat, how about you?
I'm going over. I think they have a lot of skill players that we're kind of waiting to see how they pan out, and I think a couple of them are going to hit. I think Quez, like you said, in specific, is going to have a good season. I did some rough math also based off his last 4 games of last season. He was like 1,061 yards in 17 game season. That's over 4,500 yards. Now I don't expect that, but I do expect in the upper 3,000s. I think they'll have no problem like moving the ball down the field. I just think they might struggle to get in the end zone a little bit.
Chris?
I'm going over also. As mentioned numerous times, I think he makes a big jump this year. Also, just looking back at last season, I mean, Baker, Bridgewater, Roethlisberger all threw over 3,500, and I don't think very highly of any of them. Derek Carr had over 4,000, and Philip Rivers, who I love but probably shouldn't have even played last year, he had a steep decline, had over 4,000. So if they can do it, I don't see Hurts not getting it.
Derek Carr was slinging it last year, man. Don't you think? No, I'm just kidding. I don't even care.
Would you rather have Hurts or Derek Carr?
I'd rather have Hurts because I know what Derek Carr is. That's the only, he's older. I know.
Usually should be thrown for over 4,000 yards.
What's that?
And he's not a guy that should be thrown 4,000.
Yeah, no, I know. And again, like I said, I'm kind of baking a lot of rushing into this as well. It's just passing, whatever. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to go with the under here. All right. Same thing. We'll stick with Jalen Hurts. We're going to go with rushing. So the over-under is set at 600 yards for rushing. Chris, we'll go back to you real quick. Where are you with Jalen Hurts and 600 yards rushing on the year?
This is a tough one. I think I'm going to have to go under because honestly, if he does go over, I think that means he didn't take as big of a step as a quarterback as I expect him to this year.
Okay.
And that's my answer.
Over. Not much to say other than he's crazy athletic. Comes out to 35 yards a game.
Yep.
I think when I did the math, and I'm like 35 yards a game. He could do that in his sleep. I think so.
Yep. I have that math pulled up here too. I was like, dude, he can crush that. Like, I just think that, like, I think that's he could easily do that. I'm taking the over as well. I think even if he does progress as a passer, he's just so athletic.
Would you say, Chris? Me too.
Yeah, can I change my answer? You just convinced me.
No, because you make good arguments for the pass. No, you stick to it. Fine, you can change it. It's fine.
Well, I still think he's going to throw for over the 3,500. So I guess he's winning the MVP.
I'm sticking. Just remember where your gut was, Chris. Just remember where your gut was.
I'm going over.
All right. See, that's how good our argument was, that he was like, all right, okay, I think I'm going to change it here. We have a few more here, all players. Devonta Smith, 1,000 yards. Is it just receiving or is this all-purpose yards?
This is receiving. Yeah.
Okay, so Devonta Smith, 1,000 yards receiving. I can take it off if you want. I can tell you right now that I am going to go with over. Why not? It's a little contrarian to what I'm saying that Hurts can't get to 3,500, but I think a lot of the offense will run through Devonta Smith. I think he's going to get targeted a ton. That averages out to about 60 a game. And I think with how many targets he's going to get, he can average 60 a game. And like I said, I think there's going to be a few games here where he's just going to explode. He won't even need that coming games. I think this is a little bit of a wish because I really hope that Devonta Smith has an awesome year, but I'm gonna go over. Why not? How about Pat?
My head says under and my heart says over, so we're letting it ride. We're going with the over. Life's too short to root for anything but. He's talented. I love him. He was the player I wanted them to draft. I mean, I'd feel like a hypocrite saying anything other than over after all the draft hype and pulling for him that whole time.
Chris?
I'm going over as well. They're going to feed him targets. We discussed this off air the other day, but he's more of an all-around receiver than Reagor, while Rager's just like a burner. So they're going to connect on a higher percentage of throws too. So I think he's going to rack up the yards.
Okay. Awesome. Big things expected from Devonta Smith. I can't wait for that to start. Couple more here. We have Miles Sanders. Now it says yards here. Is this just rushing or is this rushing and receiving? Because there's a difference.
Rushing.
Okay, just rushing. All right, so we have Miles Sanders at 1,000 yards rushing. Will Miles Sanders be 1,000-yard rusher? We got an extra game here. What do we think, Chris?
No. I hope I'm wrong, but there's been a lot of reports out of camp of him struggling with fumbles. He struggled with fumbles last year. I think he's going to lose some snaps. Since I think they're going to be throwing a lot, I think Scott's going to be there a lot more often because he struggled with drops too. Sanders has the talent to be a top 5 running back in the league. I truly think that. He's just seems like something mental. I think he's going to have a very good season, but I don't think he's going to get over 1,000 solely rushing yards.
Yeah,
like 800, 900, but like 1,500 all purpose because I think they're going to have to throw a lot. Like I said, Scott's going to be in there a lot more, but I think he's going to have to catch it too.
Yeah, I'm going to go under for rushing yards for Sanders. I agree. He'll be over 1,000 for all purpose for sure, I think, but maybe not 1,500. But I do think they mix in some other backs, and Scott and even Gainwell has looked really good in the preseason and apparently in training camp. So I just think they're going to mix in some other guys. And as much as I want him to be that, bell horse back, I don't think he's going to be.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with under as well. If it was the receiving yards, yeah, I would have taken it, but just rushing, I don't know that's going to happen. Jordan Howard's still on this team somehow. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of backs with Scott and Gainwell as well. They can catch passes, but I just don't see the 1,000 yards happening for Miles. I hope it does, but I just don't see it. Last one we have here, a little bit of a combo. Ertz and Goddard for 1,000 yards combined. Now, so again, we'll throw this out here. If Ertz does get traded, are we still counting those yards he picks up with his new team?
If we're doing it for the other one, I think we have to.
All right.
Yeah. I guess so.
All right.
Start.
I think Ertz is going to stay around because I don't know if we're going to find a trade partner. So I'm just going to say under in the interest of time. I know we're short, so they didn't do it last year. I don't think they do it this year. There's a lot of mouths to feed, and to see them coming just short.
Chris?
Under also, for all the reasons I said for the catches earlier, as well as even, which I should have mentioned for the catches, but then, and even if he does get traded, it's going to take him a couple games to get adjusted and learn all the plays and stuff too. So under.
I'm going to go over. Again, this is kind of making me think, hey, if I have 2,000-yard receivers, why am I not taking Jalen at 3,500? But I'm just going to stick to it. Going to take the over. Again, that's going to be a lot of tight end targets, I think, this year. So I'm going to stick with that. The fact that there's going to be a lot of targets. Hopefully that adds up to yards, not just short completions and touchdowns. But I'll just take the over just to be fun. Like we said, guys, life's too short to take the under. Come on, what are we doing?
Let it ride.
Let it ride. All right. So that's all the ones we have.
Losses?
Wins.
The big finale, the wins losses.
Yeah.
So wins losses, we have set it over under 8.5.
And with the 17-game season, it's either we expect them to be a losing record or a winning record. This is what it comes down to.
There's no 8-8. Yep. Real quick, we have less than a minute. Go ahead, give us Pat, give us your over under 8.5 prediction.
Under. I think they're probably an 8-9 team. There's a lot of new faces, a lot to figure out. Yeah. That's it.
All right, Chris?
Over. Schedule's easy. Only 2 games I see them definitely losing are Tampa and Chiefs. I think they have a chance to win any of the other ones. They're not going to win all of them, but I think they get over 8 or 8.5.
I went through. I think I have them like at 8 wins. I think they could teeter between like 8, 9. They could be anywhere from like 6 to 10, something like that. I'm gonna go with the under, just because I need to see it before I can start believing it with this team. They could catch fire, and again, like I said, a lot of the show, I feel like the theme is like, I hope I'm wrong, right? Like I feel like our expectations are like kind of low, but I hope that. What's that?
Not for me.
You are, Chris. You are like the one who's like positive about this. I like that.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, guys, we're gonna be back soon. This was great getting back with you all. Let's just all stay hot, right? All right, everyone.
Right now.
Peace.
Peace.